You already know the drill, it's book review time. The subject of today's review is The Turnglass by Gareth Rubin. This book really caught my eye because it has a special gimmick to it. It's actually two stories rolled into one, and you move between them by... This is hard to do with one hand. Flipping the book over. On one side of the book, the story takes place in England in 1881. We follow Simeon Lee, a doctor who goes to care for his relative, Oliver Hawes, who is in failing health. Hawes is convinced he's being poisoned, and he particularly blames his sister-in-law, Florence, who was accused of killing her husband a couple years prior. On the other side of this book, the story is instead set in Los Angeles in 1939. The main character here is Ken Kourian, who's trying to get into acting when he meets Oliver Tooke, the son of the governor. The two strike up a friendship, and this leaves Ken rightfully shocked when Oliver is found dead in an apparent suicide. Each story contains its own big mystery with smaller mysteries attached to it. In the first side, Simeon is trying to find out what's making Hawes sick, and in the other, Ken wants to find the truth behind Oliver's death because he doesn't believe that he took his own life. There are a couple different ways that you can read this book. You can read all of one side and then all of the other. And if you take that route, I would suggest reading the story set in 1881 first. The other one contains some spoilers, although very small ones for the 1881 side, so if you want to avoid those entirely, then that's the order you should read them in. That's not how I read it, though. No, I did not do the easy way. Instead, I swapped between the two sides. I would read a chapter from one side, then flip the book over and read a chapter from the other side. Was this significantly more tedious than it would have been to just read one side and then the other? Definitely. Do I regret it? No, the Turnglass is referred to as a tête-bêche novel. That's a French term that means head to tail. From what I've looked up, it usually refers to postage stamps where one is printed upside down relative to the other. It's hard for me to find references or sources on books being printed this way, but it seems like they do exist. So like usual, I'll start with my more positive opinions of the book. I think the cover design is wonderful, and it ties into the overall concept of the book really well. On each side of the cover, there's an hourglass, which is pretty smart considering the whole point is that you flip it over to read the two sides. I also like that each cover shows the central house of the story related to it. Obviously, the mysteries are super important to the book, seeing as it is a mystery novel. For the most part, I'd say those were done pretty well. It got a little confusing at times, but that could have just been a product of me swapping between the two sides over and over again, so I won't fault the story itself for that too much. I also like the relationship between the two stories and how they tie into each other. That also fits well with the book's gimmick. It's meant to be like you're sort of reading two sides of the same story, and I think swapping between chapters the way that I did made it easier to see the overall connections. Now, I will say that I didn't necessarily enjoy both halves of the book equally. Overall, I liked the story set in England more, although I think the mystery of the Los Angeles story was more compelling. I also liked Simeon as a character and protagonist a little bit more than Ken. He was just more interesting to me. But that statement comes with a bit of a catch, and the catch is that I didn't really care about any of the characters. None of them are that interesting or compelling, and there's basically no development for any of them. I think the lackluster characters are a result of the book's format. Because the two stories are combined into one book, they're both shorter than they otherwise would have been if they each had their own full novel length to work with, so there's just not enough room to develop and flesh out the characters. That might not be a problem for some people, but good characters are really important for me to enjoy a book, so it just didn't work for me. There's also the issue of the endings, which I think suffer from the same problem as the characters. Each story has its own ending, but it feels really unsatisfying. It's like they end too early, and there's no actual resolution for either one. Mysteries shouldn't end just immediately after the big reveal, but that's what happens with these stories. The last thing I'll mention is that there were some grammatical issues, which were mostly around the dialogue. Normally, when a different character speaks, you start a new paragraph, but there would be dialogue from two different characters in the same paragraph, and that could make it really hard to follow. I had to go back and reread several conversations multiple times to make sure I actually knew who was saying what. So, taking all of that into consideration, I think I would overall give The Turnglass a 6 out of 10. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, the concept and cover are cool, but the characters just didn't do it for me. That's about all I've got for this review. As always, you can check out The Turnglass if you're interested, and if you've already read it, I would love to know what you think. Thanks for stopping by, have a good day, and I'll see you next time.